Well, hey, Chet, it's Philly Pressbox Radio annual Hall of Fame preview night. We always have fun with this. This is going to be our seventh time around. So just a refresher on how this works. Tonight, Chet, you and I will give a quick thumbnail sketch of each of the remaining 11 players on the ballot, as well as 5 new nominees. Once the show's over, we'll post an article with a link for the fans to vote for 5 players. Top 3 fan votes are in. Then, Chet, you pick one player, I pick one player, and we'll announce this in 2 weeks. We're going to go a second week because being 4th of July week and maybe people away from their electronic devices a little bit more. So we'll come back and do that. And, really, Chet, it's been kind of easy so far. Last couple of years got a little bit harder. The first group was, were the regulars. Pretty tough to get to these guys. We still have 3 Hall of Famers in their respective leagues that we haven't selected yet. They're still nominees. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, every year it does get tougher, though, Bill, because there are more and more of the obvious names off the list. So it's getting more challenging for us and therefore for our listeners and now viewers, but certainly still a lot of fun. And we're going to give you 2 weeks to make your choices, and then we'll come back and see what we have.
Yep. Well, we're going to give a quick rundown of the 35 great Philadelphia athletes that have already been selected to our Philly Pressbox Radio Hall of Fame. So, we're in 36 through 50 now. So 35 are in. We'll go ahead and we'll run them down just so people know it. If they think, oh, why isn't this person being talked about? Because they probably are already here. So we started this out in 2014. Our class was Wilt Chamberlain, Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, Bobby Clark, Bernie Perrant, Chuck Bednarik, Steve Van Buren, Reggie White, Robin Roberts, and Julius Erving. That was our first 10 the first year. Then we went in the class of 2015, Brian Dawkins, Richie Ashburn, Bill Barber, Joe Frazier, and Pete Pihos. And then in 2016, Eric Lindros, Pete Rose, Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, and Hal Greer. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago, 2016. Wow. 2017, the great Judy Arnold, Mark Howell, Moses Malone, Dick Allen, and Bryant Propp. 2018, Bill Berge, Jim Bunning, Maxie Bond, Harold Carmichael, and Tommy McDonald. And then last year, Bobby Jones, Wilbert Montgomery, Billy Cunningham, Tim Kerr, and Rick McLeish. So those are our 35, Chet. And so after 6 years, we have 7 Phillies, 8 Flyers, 8 Sixers, 10 Eagles, and 2 others. The others being Joe Frazier and Judy Arnold. So, and last year, after the year before, we had picked, I think, 4 Eagles. Last year, we picked no Eagles. So that could change this year. And as I mentioned, we have 3 players, Bob Brown, Mo Cheeks, and Chet Walker, who are nominees, again, who are in their Hall of Fame, who are not in our Hall of Fame.
And, I can just see some of our younger listeners and viewers saying, who the heck is Pete Pihos and Judy Arnold? What's that? But we old timers, we know.
We know, absolutely. Well, hey, let's get to the players remaining on the ballot from last year. Okay. So we have Bob Boomer Brown, Hall of Famer, Mo Cheeks, Hall of Famer, Randall Cunningham, Darren Daulton, Ryan Howard, Tug McGraw, Donovan McNabb, Mike Quick, Jimmy Rollins, Dave the Hammer Schultz, Chet Walker, and new to the 2020 ballot, Chet, we came up with Rod Brind'Amour, Ron Hextall, Seth Joiner, Gary Maddox, and Chase Utley.
And hey, by the way, your son pointed out that Wilbert Montgomery went in last year, and he is an Eagle. So we did have 1 Eagle last year.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Ding.
I'm glad he's back there.
Keeping us in line.
That's right. So, Jed, here we go in no particular order because you ended up with a lion's share here. You have to do 9 of these, and I only have to do 7. So we're not in alphabetical order. It's just the way it fell. So I'm going to start out with Bob Boomer Brown, and we'll rotate through the list of nominees that way. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So Bob Brown, terrific offensive tackle for 10 years in the National Football League. 1964 to 1973. Several All-Pro selections. He played his first 5 years in the league as an Eagle after being drafted second overall in 1964 out of Nebraska. He also played for the Rams and the Raiders. Brown was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2004 and was also added to the Eagles Hall of Fame the same year. Great player, one of those offensive linemen that get buried, Chet. Bob Boomer Brown.
Yes, sir. Let's move on to Rod Brind'Amour, who was a new nominee this year. You know, back in late May, Bill and I talked about our favorite all-time Flyers to watch and play. And this guy, again, a new nominee for our hall this year, was on my list of favorites because of the way he played the game. All out, every shift. Rod Brind'Amour played 20 seasons in the NHL, including 9 with the Flyers, who honored him by putting him in their Hall of Fame in 2015. He came up short in the Hockey Hall vote this year, but I think he'll do well in our poll because he was such a favorite. During his 9 years with the Orange and Black, Brindy scored 235 goals and had 601 total points, and was also the best defensive forward in the league during much of his career. A hard-nosed player who was a great teammate and a fan favorite, as I said, Rod Brind'Amour.
All right, moving on. Next one is another 2020 new nominee, and that's Gary Maddox. And I can still hear Harry Callis, Chet saying, Gary Lee Maddox. The Secretary of Defense joined the Phillies in a 1975 trade from the Giants for that Willie Montanez. Maddox went on to play 11-plus seasons for the Phils, winning 7 Gold Gloves, a World Series championship, a Roberto Clemente Award, and earned induction into the Phillies Wall of Fame. He had a career Phillies batting average of .284 with 85 home runs, 586 RBIs. He also played in 6 postseasons as a Philly, 76, 77, 78, 80, 81, and 83. Gary Lee Maddox.
Where are we at? Am I at Randall Cunningham? Is that where we are here? Yes.
Randall.
Ah, yes. Randall went on to our ballot for the first time in 2018 and didn't get the level of support that I thought he might. And he came up short in 2019 also. One of the NFL's most electrifying players ever. So many highlight film plays. The ultimate weapon, as he was often called. Randall threw for nearly 22,900 yards and 150 touchdowns as an Eagle, while rushing for another nearly 4,500 yards and 22 scores. Still today, he is the league all-time rushing leader among quarterbacks, more than 4,900 yards, a 2-time All-Pro with 3 Pro Bowl selections. He was an Eagle, 11 seasons, and one of my favorites, Randall Cunningham.
Randall Cunningham. And Chet, I got to tell you, I made a mistake, and our listeners are paying attention and correcting me, because next up is Mo Cheeks. And Mo is in his Naismith, is a Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer last year, but he is not in our list. So
yeah, we said that, didn't we?
Yeah, I think there's confusion that they got elected last year, and I think what they're thinking is he got elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes, not into ours. He is still out there and available.
That's right. So Cheeks was the point guard that directed that offense for 11 seasons from 1978 through the middle of the 1989 season, including leading the 82-83 World Champion Sixers. As a Sixer, Mo averaged 12.2 points per game, 7.3 assists per game, a 4-time All-Star, 5-time All-Defensive Team player, and as we said, elected to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 2018, Mo Cheeks.
All right. Speaking of popular players, Darren Daulton was one of the most popular Phillies ever. Just like the current Phillies catcher, JT, Dutch Daulton wore number 10. He played 13 and a half of his 14 big league seasons with the Phillies and was absolutely the leader in that clubhouse, particularly on the lovable NL pennant-winning 1993 squad. While his career stats weren't anything special, a .245 average and 134 home runs, Daulton was a standout in handling pitchers and running that clubhouse. He finished his playing career in style in 1997, winning a World Series ring with those Marlins. But we'll always remember him as a very popular Philly. Gone a few years now, having succumbed to brain cancer, the great Darren Daulton.
All right. And I've got another new nominee, Chet. How about Ron Hextall? Hexie played 11 of his 13 seasons in the NHL as a Flyer netminder over 2 stints. He was a first-team All-Star, won the Vezina Trophy and the Conn Smythe Trophy, all as a rookie. Hexie holds the Flyers team records for goaltender games played, 3 more than Bernie Perrant, wins, 9 more than Perrant, losses, and goals against. Hextall became the first NHL goaltender to score a goal by shooting the puck into the opponent's empty net against the Boston Bruins in the 87-88 season. The following season, became the first goaltender to score in the playoffs by shooting the puck into the Washington Capitals' empty net. Hexie still holds the NHL record for most penalty minutes by a goaltender in a single season with 113. He later became the Flyers general manager for 4+ seasons. Ron Hextall.
All right. Well, last year, the Phillies formally honored Ryan Howard with a retirement ceremony at Citizens Bank Park. I was there, and it was quite cool. The offensive numbers the Big Piece put up between his 2005 Rookie of the Year season and 2011 were nothing short of amazing. From 2006 then through 11, Howard averaged 43.7 home runs and 133 RBI per season. He was the league's 2006 most valuable player a year after winning Rookie of the Year. He finished in the top 10 in the voting the next 5 seasons. Yeah, he struck out a lot, and he was an average first baseman at best. But for those first 7 seasons as a Philly before the devastating injury on the final play of the 2011 postseason, there was no one that opposing pitchers feared more than Ryan Howard. 382 career home runs, second on the Phil's all-time list, and 1,194 RBI, that is third among all-time Phillies. Ryan Howard absolutely, I think, belongs in our little hall.
Well, I can't disagree with that. And I've got another Philly who might also need to be in there as well. One of the rare guys beloved by fans in both New York and Philadelphia, as he spent 9 or 10 years in both cities, coming up with the Mets in the mid-'60s, where he was part of the '69 Miracle Mets and the '73 You Gotta Believe Mets that rallied to win the pennant and stretched the world champion Oakland A's to 7 games. He joined the Phillies in 1975, stayed a Philly through 1984, helping them win the World Series in 1980. We all remember Chet, his strikeout of Willie Wilson to end it. It was a classic. Tugs Phil's stats during his 10 years in town: 49 wins, 94 saves, 6th on the Phil's all-time list, and a 3.10 earned run average. You got to believe the late Tug McGraw will get some support from the Philly faithful.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all love Carson Wentz, and so many fans still love Nick Foles, understandably. That Randall Cunningham guy, pretty popular too. But when it comes down to it, the Eagles' greatest ever quarterback is still good old number 5, Donovan McNabb. Yeah, he will always love you. He was picked 2nd overall in the 1999 draft and played 11 seasons with the Birds, and he had quite a career. You know about the 5 NFC championships and that 1 Super Bowl loss. Know also that he had a very respectable passer rating as an Eagle, 86.5, and a 1-loss record of 92, 49, and 1. That ain't bad. And, 216 touchdowns and just 100 interceptions. Put the quirky personality issues aside and remember, he is the best ever quarterback still to have played for the Eagles, Donovan McNabb.
And, Chet, we got to throw this out here because I didn't check how many years McNabb has been on this ballot, but it's been a handful. And he has been the most surprising, lowest vote getter every year. Every year, I think he's going to have some juice to him. And it started from the beginning. He didn't get support the first year he was on here, and he's never gotten support from the Philly fans. This really has surprised me throughout.
Yeah, I don't like his chances this year either. So sorry, Donovan, but we're going to keep you on there, and hopefully people will come around.
There you go. Next up, Mike Quick. Quick played all 11 of his seasons for the Eagles, earning 5 Pro Bowl trips. Only 6 Eagles have gone to more Pro Bowls as an Eagle than Quick. And they're all on this list except for one, Jason Peters, who's still playing. 3 times he gained over 1,000 yards receiving, including a league-leading 1,409 in 1983. For his Eagles career, Quick had 363 receptions for 6,464 yards and 61 touchdowns, including an NFL record 99-yarder. This could be the year for Mike Quick, Chet.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about another Eagle, a new nominee this year? Not sure why it took so long for him to get on our ballot. Let's call it an oversight on both our parts. But shame on me, because I've been campaigning for this guy to get serious consideration by Pro Football Hall of Fame voters. We're talking about Seth Joiner. Check out what this 8th-round draft choice did during his 8 terrific seasons as an Eagle linebacker. 37 sacks, 17 interceptions. He played with 3 other teams later on, winning a Super Bowl with the Broncos, and ended up as the only player in league history with at least 50 sacks and 20 interceptions, to go with 26 forced fumbles. His numbers, you can look it up. They're better than Hall of Famers Derek Brooks and Junior Seau. I'm not kidding. He went into the Eagles Hall of Fame belatedly in 2018, and I have a hunch he will be one of the top vote getters for our hall this year, the great Seth Joiner.
Interesting.
Yep.
And you're up again. You're right back up with Jimmy Rollins.
Yes, indeed. Another guy who is absolutely deserving of our little haul, but we're not going to put them all in this year. But Jimmy Rollins is the Phillies' all-time hits leader. We all remember him passing Mike Schmidt several years ago in that category. He was also the National League's MVP in 2004, a 3-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove winner, and a career .267 hitter with the Phillies. And, of course, a key member of the 2008 Phillies World Championship team. He's even in the top 10 on the Phil's all-time home run list. Yeah, he had 216 dingers as a Philly. He's only been gone a few years, but consider him for our Hall of Fame, Jimmy Rollins.
All right. Next up, I've got one that, Chet, I think this guy's got a real chance this year. Dave the Hammer Schultz. What more needs to be said? An integral part of the Broad Street Bullies Stanley Cup champion Flyers. He was the head bully. He only played 5 years for the Flyers, although it seemed like a lot more than that. But what an impact. He actually scored 51 goals, recorded 64 assists, and 1,386 penalties. Yes, he did score 20 goals in a season in 1973-74. His record, 472 penalty minutes amassed in 1974-75, still stands as a record today. A member of the Flyers Hall of Fame and 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Dave the Hammer Schultz.
I remember that season when he had the 20 goals. He actually had 2 hat tricks a week apart, one against the Rangers, one against the Minnesota North Stars. I don't know why I remember that, but I mentioned that to Schultz when I saw him a few years ago, and he was shocked at me remembering that, but just one of those things that stood out.
That was actually a trivia question on one of our Philly Pressbox Radio trivia shows.
Oh, really? There you go, and I didn't even know that. All right, let's see. Chase Utley. Oh, yes, a new nominee this year. I'm no genius, but I have a hunch Chase will be one of the top 3 vote getters here in his first year on the ballot for our hall. Although he grew up in Southern California, Chase was always a fan favorite in Philly for the way he played the game, 110% every time he went out there. A 6-time All-Star, he helped the Phillies to that World Series title in 08, and during his 13 seasons in Philly, he had a .282 average with 233 home runs, good for 6th on the team's all-time list, even though he wasn't really a power hitter. Utley was chosen as the second baseman on Sports Illustrated's all-decade team for the 2000s. He is the man and a first-time nominee for our hall, Chase Utley.
Well, it's going to be interesting with Utley, Rollins, and Howard now all on the ballot. You know, we've hit this 2008 bunch pretty hard, and it's going to be interesting to me, Chet, to see which of those 3 get the most votes first.
I think Chase, but we'll see.
All right.
Ooh, I got another one. This guy goes back to my youth. Again, I'm old. A very solid NBA player for 13 years. His rookie season was with the Syracuse Gnats. I don't go quite back that far. The Gnats, of course, then moved to Philly, and he played with the 76ers for 6 years. Chet Walker, a forward who averaged 16.2 points and 7.9 rebounds a game with the franchise, a 47% shooter and a strong defender. He finished his career with the Bulls. Of course, Chet was a starting forward on those 66-67 Sixers, inducted to the Basketball Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee finally in 2012. An old favorite of mine, Chet the Jet Walker.
All right. Well, there you have it. You've got 11 to choose from, or you got 16 to choose from now, right?
Yeah, 16 in total, yeah.
16 to choose from. So you pick your 5 favorites, go to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, click on the article. It'll be on the left-hand side. We'll probably get that up a little bit later tonight. Top 3 vote getters by the fans are in. Chet, you'll pick one. I'll pick one. I usually pick the old guys, and I'm not even sure who the old guys are in this group anymore. And remember, the voting will end on Tuesday, July 14th. We'll announce them and go through these on the 15th, Wednesday 15th show. So, Chet, run down the list again for us, and let's see them votes.
All right, 16 names to consider. Only 5 will get in alphabetical order. Your 11 holdover candidates are Bob Brown, Mo Cheeks, Randall Cunningham, Darren Daulton, Ryan Howard, Tug McGraw, Donovan McNabb, Mike Quick, Jimmy Rollins, Dave Schultz, and Chet Walker. And the newcomers to the 2020 ballot are Rod Brind'Amour, Ron Hextall, Seth Joiner, Gary Maddox, and Chase Utley. I promise you, no Russian interference, New York interference. Let's do it, Philly sports fans. Choose wisely.
All right. Looking forward to it. And like I said, check our website. We'll post it on Facebook that it's up there. Slide over to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, and get your votes in and see what happens. Always fun.
Mm-hmm.